So yesterday, right, I was watching TV. I think I was watching Hercules, right, from 1958, right? And then I had a voice, yeah. The Holy Spirit whispered in my ears and said that, did I notice that in the whole Bible that there are only two instances of drowning? And the first one was like the Egyptians drowning in the Red Sea. And then the other instance was the demons that Jesus cast into pigs and they drowned. And I was like, wow. So my brain started ringing and I started looking for instances of drowning in the Bible. And lo and behold, those are the only two instances of like people actually drowning, right? So the OSP told me that drowning is a myth. That drowning is a little bit like jumping, right? So if you stand on a chair and you jump down, right, you will not die because the height is not high enough, right? But if you jump from the top of a story building, right, you would die because, well, the height is too much, right? So the OSP told me drowning is also like that, but it's inverted, right? So if you cannot swim inside a swimming pool, you would die. You would die very fast, like 2 minutes. If you swam inside like a river, I didn't know how to swim, you would have slightly longer time, like 3 minutes. And if you went into like a sea, like the shores of the sea, right, you would last like 5 minutes in the water before you drowned. So the hospital was like, why is the time increasing? Well, because oxygen, the reason why we are able to breathe on land is because of oxygen, right? Now where does that oxygen come from? The oxygen comes from trees. Now the cool thing is, land is not actually the biggest producer of oxygen in the world. The biggest producer of oxygen in the world are the oceans, right? So most of the oxygen we use comes from inside the oceans, right? Right? Deep in the ocean, right? So if somebody was to like be dropped in the middle of the ocean, right, the person would not die, essentially. Why? Because the water in the middle of the ocean is so saturated with oxygen that the water behaves like air, right? So the question now is, can human beings breathe water? Yes. Actually, actually, that's the wrong question. The right question is, can human beings breathe air? Yes, we can breathe air, AIR-ish. But what we start breathing is water. Everybody starts breathing water in their mother's womb, right? There's no air in the womb, it's water, right? So we start by breathing water, and eventually we end up breathing air, right? So essentially, the middle of the ocean, you can't die. And all our notions of drowning is people drowning in pools and in pools, in rivers, in lakes. We probably don't know anybody that drowned in the middle of the ocean. Why? Because you can't drown there. It's a longer story, but bye bye.